Welcome, everyone. You've already met me in class, hopefully, but I'm Miss Fremont, and you're going to be seeing a lot of me both in class and on some of these videos, as we are going to be using Modern Classroom in English 10 this year. Some of you may have used Modern Classroom last year, many of you probably have never heard of it before. So this video is going to help introduce you to what Modern Classroom is, and generally, how our class will work this year. Our goal is that by the end of this lesson, you'll know what a modern classroom is, you'll know how the class will work, you'll be a pro. So, what is a modern classroom? Well, there's a few different aspects to it, but mostly it's meant to help you out if the normal classroom isn't really doing what you need. Have you ever been so bored in class because you already know the material, you're done with the lesson, and you're just sitting there waiting for everyone else to catch up? Or on the other hand, maybe you feel overwhelmed with work. You can't catch up no matter what you do. You feel like you're just always behind. Or you've got questions, you need help, and it seems like the teacher's not available to answer them. You're being left on your own. If any of those have ever applied to you, Modern Classroom is meant to make the class work better. So welcome again to our Modern Classroom. There's three main components of a modern classroom. First, teachers create instructional videos so that you can move at your own pace. If you're out sick one day, you won't miss a key lecture and then be completely lost. The materials you need will be on Schoology. If you are already a master of something, you can speed right on to the next lesson. But if something's new to you, you can take a little bit longer and review the video as needed. Because I'll be using videos instead of doing full class lectures most of the time, I'll have a lot more time to work with you, either one-on-one or in small groups, so you can get the help that you need and not what I think the whole class might need. So what this means is that different students will be working on different lessons at different times. We'll all be working on the same unit, and there will be some target deadlines to help you keep track of where you should be. But you might be working on lesson 1.2 while your neighbor works on 1.1, and across the room someone's working on 1.4. That's fine. This is meant to fit your schedule, your needs, and we'll talk more about that later. At the end of each lesson, there will be a quick mastery check, which is a way for you to show, I have mastered the content of this lesson, I'm a pro, I'm ready to move on. If you don't pass the mastery test, don't worry. That doesn't mean you fail anything. That just means we'll give you some feedback, you'll go back and review your notes, you'll revise and resubmit to show your mastery. You'll keep revising until you show that you really understand things, and then, when you're ready, move on to the next lesson. So, one key piece of Modern Classroom is blended instruction. What this means is that we're using a blend, a mix of these teacher created videos and in-class instruction. This is not distance learning. It's not just online. I'm here in the classroom and I'm here to help you out. But if you're ever outside of the classroom, you've also got a lot of resources on Schoology. The self-paced structure is also key. You get to learn at your own pace within each unit. It's totally fine if you're at a slightly different point than the other students around you. And you'll find that on some units you might move fast, and other units you might move a bit more slowly. That's fine, and it'll help you develop independence and self-pacing skills. And finally, there's our mastery-based grading. So again, you'll have mastery checks at the end of each lesson, and you'll move on when you show you really know the material. So no more speeding through material without really understanding it. You will actually learn what you need to learn. Our daily routine in Modern Classroom might look a little bit different than a standard class because it is partially self-paced, but it's pretty ordinary. You're always going to start each day with a daily do now. It's just a small slip of paper. They'll be up at the front of the class as you enter, where you'll kind of check in, see where you're at, and set your goals for the day. A few minutes into class, we'll have some announcements, any news for the day, and I'll announce the stars of the day, people who really stood out in the previous class for modeling good work, good behavior, doing something that makes the class better. Then the rest of class will generally be work time. You might watch a video like this one and take some notes. You might be doing some practice work in your packet. You might have an activity to do, or if you're at the end of a lesson, you'll work on a mastery check. When we're a few minutes from the end of class, I'll wrap things up and we'll be ready to get going the next day, wherever you're at. You'll only need a few simple materials for this class. The most important one is your Chromebook with access to Schoology. A lot of our materials will be on Schoology, so please make sure that you always have your Chromebook and that it's always charged. We do have some Chromebook chargers to share in the class, but not enough for everyone. So if you can come in with your Chromebook ready to go, then you'll be ready to learn. You'll also frequently need headphones for videos like this one. Again, we've got some to share in the class. You can find them by the turn-in bins. But if you have your own, you're welcome to use those as well. You'll need something to write with, a pen or pencil. We've got plenty in the supplies cabinet. If you borrow one, please put it back so that someone else can use it. And you'll need your unit packet. This will be the paper copy of the work you'll be doing for the full unit. We'll make sure you get that at the start of each unit. Deadlines in Modern Classroom are also a little bit different. There will be target deadlines posted in the objectives calendar, more on that later, and on Schoology. These are basically when we kind of hope and expect you get the work done by. But maybe you're really busy one week and you can't get to it, or you're working ahead and you're already done with the lesson. That's fine in Modern Classroom because it's self-paced. The hard deadline for all work will be the end of the unit. So if you fall behind on some formative work during the unit, that's okay. You can still complete it for full credit, but you have to turn it in by the end of the unit, which again will be on your calendar and in Schoology. No work from a unit will be accepted after that unit has ended. So anything you don't complete, well, you're just going to move on from that and try again in the next unit. To help you keep track of where you're at, there will be a pacing tracker that's updated every single day in Schoology. The pacing tracker will look something like this. It'll have everyone's name on the left. It'll let you know exactly what lesson you're on. Are you on 5.1, 5.2, whatever it is. And it'll show you what you've mastered, what you're revising, and what you're working on, as well as the target deadlines for each activity, so that you can see if you're on pace, ahead of pace, or if you've got a bit of catching up to do. The pacing tracker doesn't mean anything for your grades. It is not scored. It is just a way to help you keep track of what you should be working on, keep track of how effectively you've been using your time, and possibly figure out who you can work with, either by finding someone on the same lesson as you, or by finding someone who's already completed the lesson you're on, who can serve as a mentor as you're working. Finally, as I mentioned, at the end of each lesson, you'll have a mastery check. This will show what you know. They are formative assessments, but they're worth a little more than some other formatives. These, unlike your other classwork, have to be done on your own. There's a mastery zone at the front of the classroom that has 4 desks where you can sit to work on your mastery checks. You should work on them silently, on paper, unless we say otherwise, and you have to work on them in the mastery check zone. You're welcome to use your notes, like your packet, but you can't use computers, phones, any technology while you're working on the mastery checks, because we really want to see that you have the information in your own head. If you pass, you move on to the next lesson. If you don't, it's not a big deal. We'll give you feedback, give you some help, and you'll revise until you show that you really know the material. All mastery checks must be completed in order to submit the summative assessment at the end of the unit. So make sure you're keeping up with those mastery checks. And then there will be a summative at the end of each unit. These will vary. Sometimes we'll be writing, sometimes talking, might be a test, might be a project. We'll have a bunch of different things over the course of the year, and sometimes you'll have some choice in what you do. Most of your grade is determined by the summative. It counts for 80% of your grade. But remember, you aren't eligible to submit the summative unless you've done the mastery checks. So you have to keep up with that formative work as well. Overall, Modern Classroom is a class where teachers use instructional videos, like this one, instead of lectures, so students can move at their own pace, they can get help when needed, and they can move on to the next lesson after showing mastery of the content. There's a few other things to talk about, but we'll get to those in the next video. For now, make sure you filled in your must-do notes, and if you've got any questions, ask 3 before me.